Hi everybody, it's me, Charles Norman for Sports Solutions LLC, the creators of AthleticSOS. It is a software program that if your kid is trying to get an athletic scholarship, it will take their academic information, the sport they play, the location they want to play in the country, and the level they can participate, and give you a list of schools so you'll know all of your options and opportunities, and then you can reach out and we sort of reverse things around. Instead of you going to the showcases and the viewing tournaments and combines and hoping to get discovered, those schools that you're already interested in will know where you're going to be, and they'll come out to verify that you can play at that level. We're kind of just flipping things. And again, always down below, I give you the code, I give you the instructions to use it, no cost to you guys. We're doing pretty good here, and we've got some stuff coming, so that's going to help us to be able to build some revenue so we can keep it this way. We do not advertise. The only thing you may see if you got lucky enough to catch this video, or you're with an organization that we've already made a partnership with and we've given them the software. And the reason we do that is because we're trying to find people, good people, that are trying to help these kids out, and we want to put the software in their hands because they're going to try to help guide you guys to where you need to be. So anyway, that's how we're kind of working right now. I want to do this one. This one will be pretty quick. One of the things I've found, I've done a lot of presentations this past summer, and we're kind of growing and people are learning who we are and what we're all about. And one of the things I get a lot are kids, once they get to the 10th, 11th grade, they start to realize that there's some people backstabbing. You know, actually I was going to put the title in here, the OJ is backstabbing, and it's taking them by surprise. And I want you guys to understand that that is going to happen, and it's okay. That's what kind of what the software is all about, is where you're positioning yourself and your kid that no matter what someone else does that you can't control, it's out of your control. There's nothing you can do except get mad or go scream or go tell somebody on somebody and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to have to do that. You want to feel completely in control of the path you're going to take, and even the much control as you can do, if you did everything right, it may not work out perfectly for you, but you still have something else side door. People always ask, how come I don't get really upset and get all bent out of shape? I'm always looking around. No matter what we're doing, I'm trying to figure out, okay, I need to make sure I can do it this way or that way. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I'm aware that all the possibilities are, and it's fun for me. You know, I like to do it all the time. My wife always goes, whenever something's going wrong, she goes, well, he'll know where we can go and stay, or what we can do, what's going to happen next. That's what I just kind of like doing that. I've always said, I've told my kids this as they got older. I said, most people are living life like they're playing that game, musical chairs. Remember when you're a little kid, you're playing musical chairs, and they kept taking one of the chairs away, and then it's more kids, one more kid than there are chairs, and you're going around that little circle, and you kind of, when you get to the end, you kind of bump the person in front because you want to get all the way around before the music starts, and you don't want to be left without a seat. I said, people as adults are living that life where somebody else, because even when I was a little kid, I used to think it was unfair that the person playing the music, who could stop it whenever they wanted to, could see the players. I said, how come that person is not turned around where they can't see what's going on? Because they can fix it, right? They can do whatever they want to do. And but as adults, people are playing that same game. Somebody else is completely in control of their lives all the way through, and then they're just going to run down to HR, or they're going to go and file a complaint, or they're going to go on the internet and write a complaint about something they have no control over at all. And so you want to have control over your life in general. Even me doing this business, you know, I worked in government. And so in government, you're supposed to have these rules, right? A test comes out, you go take the test, you're supposed to do an interview, then you do another interview. But even I knew as I became a senior and I'm sitting in interview rooms, I can see somebody on my interview board wanted someone else to get that position for whatever reason. And if it was for them, I didn't make a big deal out of it. But every now and then I would say, this doesn't make any sense when we're doing the reviews. I say, but people are choosing all the time, and I go, this is crazy. So that's when I said, you know, I got to do something for myself. You know, otherwise you'll go nuts. If you're not planning something for yourself, you will lose your mind in this world, because everything just seems like it's kind of unfair. But the interesting thing for me, and the reason I'm kind of bringing this up, is if you are doing the right thing, people are watching. The good people, most of the good people in the world are very quiet. You don't know anything about, but they're always watching, and they understand you can't do it by yourself most of the times. You need to have some other people around you, and they will recognize you, and then they'll come up and say something, or they'll send you an email or a text, or hey, you mind you know, getting lunch or breakfast, or hey, what do you think about this? And then you guys will slowly figure out that you're willing to help them with nothing coming back to you. And next thing you know, they got this project and they'll tell you about it, and you'll go, wow, that's a great idea. How are you going to do it? And they go, I'm not sure, I'm thinking about this and this. And then you start start working with them. And the next thing you know, they know somebody, you know somebody, you guys get together and you come up with something great. That's what's happening to us in our business right now. And this is what I want to happen for you. Now, a couple of things for the younger person, if you happen to be watching this. Your goal in life is, there's going to be times, and it happened to my daughter a bunch of times, sometimes you're the best player. If you have the ability to get an athletic scholarship, you're going to be the best player most of the time, or one of the 2 or 3 best players most of the times that you're participating in a sport. But sometimes somebody's going to get an award. They're going to get the MVP or best, or sometimes the whole team's going to get an award when you're really little, and the parents get bent out of shape. How come everybody's getting an award? What? Doesn't matter. Your kid just has to understand this is the way it is. We don't control all of this, and it's okay. But if you can figure out how to genuinely be happy for that other person that got a reward. I remember my daughter was in her sophomore year, had a fantastic sophomore year, and the head coach gave another girl the MVP for that year. And it was clear to everybody on the team, my daughter probably should have got that. I mean, she really was good, but the other player was a senior. And so what he was trying to do was reward her for the hard work. She had stuck it out. Didn't have the biggest numbers of anybody in any area, but she was a good player and had improved so much, and he wanted to reward her. And then I heard another parent said, I wouldn't accept that. You know, your daughter, she's going to get an athletic scholarship. If she gets MVP sophomore year, that'll show up in her stats and her notes. And I was sitting there and I was going, but it's okay. Let her have the award. And the kid was a great kid. And so we taught our kids, hey, just congratulate them. But over time, if you can develop a genuine, hey, you know what, good for you, great job. And the funny thing is, that girl that we went out to go eat after that, the families out here are pretty close. We went to go eat after that. And the girl's dad came over to me and he goes, yeah, I think Eric should. I go, it's cool. People know what's going on. Just be genuinely happy that that other person, and I remember telling him, I said, hey, you know what, your daughter did a good job this year. I think she earned that one. And so these are kind of things, and I actually saw it. Even though I knew what MVP is supposed to be, that's just because we put it in our head. It's most valuable player. And for some reason, that fit for that year for that young lady. And then even when my daughter got to college, it was a set of parents. My daughter came in freshman year, got to play a lot, and one of the other girls who the dad and I were, he was sitting in front of me, we got to the game, and we were talking, and I was telling my wife, I said, you know, this young lady probably is the best player on this team, but she doesn't get to play a lot. And the problem for her is that coach had these distinct things, right? You're the point guard, you're the shooting guard, they just had these points, but she could do everything. And so it didn't work the way it should have worked. And so her dad was sitting in front of me, and I said, she's easily the most talented person here. She probably should be starting over a lot of the girls, including my daughter at the time. But I knew what my daughter did that coach needed. So, and then the dad heard me, he goes, hey, what did you say? I said, is that your daughter? I said, she's probably the best player on this team. She could do everything. She could shoot threes. She could pull up. She could handle the ball. She defended really well. She was just a really good player. But the problem was the way the coach ran the offense. It didn't fit. And so that's one of the things they probably should have been thinking about when she went there. Anyway, so I know I'm kind of rambling on this thing, but I don't want you guys to get to the point where you get this bitter thing in life because it really will destroy you if you start to go through life thinking things that you can't control are the reasons for you to get upset about. What you do is you make a plan to move to another level. And the other reason I did this video is the thing that's going to hurt the most is people you're around, your kids been around their whole life, that are going to start, as they get older and they get closer to it, they're going to start kind of stabbing your kid in the back. And so it happened to my kid a couple of different ways. One, when she was scheduled to go visit one of the schools that was really interested in her, one of the other people, we had known these kids, this family forever, and they went up 2 weeks before us. They found out where we were going, went up 2 weeks before us, and 2 sets of parents. They went together because they wanted their kids to play together at this school, and they had the openings for it. And they badmouthed my daughter. And I've only found out about it because the assistant coach who was kind of recruiting us goes, hey, Mr. Norman, you really need to, watch who you think your friends are. Because I told them, hey, I said, I think they're coming up earlier than us, but we'll be up there a couple of weeks later. And so that coach said to me, you really need to be careful. During my daughter, when she was coming up through junior high and high school, we had some families out here that if I knew about anything, I knew about a camp, because I research everything. I knew about a camp, I knew about some training, I knew about anything, and I thought it was good, I would let everybody know. And then even on that, some of those people that we took our daughter to later, they go, everybody's not your friend, Mr. Norman. And so I started to pick up on it. It gets really, really competitive. And I live in a suburban area, and out here, the families really think they can control everything, right? You can go complain and get things and force them your way, the way you want them to go. And you can leave people in and out. Even when my kid was, both me and my wife both worked. When there were Girl Scouts out here, there were the families where the moms could go pick them up right after school. They didn't want to mix in with the families from the people whose moms worked. And they sort of made this schism with the kids, but the kids liked each other. I guess what I'm trying to say here is things like AthleticSOS are tools for you to start getting ahead of the game. Figure out who your kid is and where you want to go, and then you'll figure out the way to get there. None of these things ever set us back enough to where my daughter didn't get where she needed to get, right? And then keep moving on in life. One of the other ones, I always like to tell this story, for the head coach for the college she went to. He wanted another girl the next year. He had her pinpointed, but his recruiting coordinator loved my daughter and got her to come down there. And he told me, though, he said, listen, I was looking at another kid for next year because my daughter played point guard that he wanted to bring in. He said, but this person is telling me, everyone's telling me your daughter, if I get her, I've got a prize. He goes, I'm offering you this scholarship right now. And I really thought about it. I said, next year he's just going to try to replace her, right? But I also knew how my daughter played, and she had played with girls just like the girls at this school, and she had a great time, and they fell in love with her because she would get them the ball at the right time, at the right moment. She just understood how to play the game the way they wanted to play. She made the game easier for everyone else. And then because she's the point guard, on defense, my daughter could dig in. You're not going to beat her, and that gets contagious too. So she ended up going to that school. And the very thing I thought would happen. Her freshman year, she got to play a lot, and he saw the team play differently. Girl, he always had these defensive schemes where you were really helping. All of a sudden, the girls started to dig in on their own, and now you're not so vulnerable to different things. You just play at a different level. But the interesting thing about that was that he did recruit that girl the next year. And she came in, and he really thought she was going to be able to take my daughter's spot, but she wasn't able to do it. But the best part about this is that guard that came in became my daughter's maid of honor in her wedding. They became best friends. My daughter did everything she could to help that girl play better and get more playing time because they would just play off each other. One thing that coach was good at, if you were a good enough player, he figured out how to get you on the court. And so it ended up working out anyway. And it could have been this, this thing where they're bumping heads. I'm trying to take your spot. You're not taking my spot. The other girls on the team were cheering them on and picking one side or the other and all that kind of stuff. But it never ended up happening. And like I said, they became best friends, still best friends to this day. These are the kind of things, you live your life in a way where you're truly happy for other people. You're not in competition with that person. You want to win the game. You want to play as best you can. You're trying to figure out, how do I get there? How do I get on the court? How do I get on the field? How do I contribute enough to where I get to keep playing? I can't worry about the stuff that I don't control. You cannot worry about that stuff. Sometimes you'll have to move, but most of the times you don't. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be the best. But the bottom line for everybody listening to this is, if you're doing the right thing as much as you can, if you really sincerely want other people to do well, people are watching all the time. People are always watching. Opportunities will pop up in so many places. You'll be amazed. You'll be like, where'd this come from? This is exactly what we need. It will happen. I promise you. For young people, you have to do that, and you have to get good people in your life so you look around and do the same thing. Once you see somebody's kind-hearted, they're good, they're working really hard, you go help them if they need help getting up to your level, or get them as far as you can. But also find interest in the things that they're doing too, and you guys become friends. Bring those people into your life as much as you can, and keep on doing that as you move forward. I'm telling you, you're gonna have this wondrous life where everybody else is pulling their hair off everywhere they go. You're gonna be calm and cool and collected because you got good people that you know you can depend on, and those people know they can depend on you when it comes down to it. That is the secret to a happy, wonderful life. For you parents, I know you guys are going to work. I know you're working hard. I know you're doing everything you can for your kid. But you got to start working on some stuff on your own too. You got to start looking at, you've got your kid. They're going to go to college. You know what their major is. You know what they're trying to do. This is the moment where you can start going, okay, let's sit around the kitchen table and figure out, what do we know how to do well? We're going to go start doing something on the side. You got plenty of time. The week is actually long. You get home 6, 7, I don't care what time you get home. You guys can sit down and you guys can start working on stuff. Just start small and start working toward it. By the time that kid's out of college and whatever's going on, maybe you have something going on where you guys can say, hey, go ahead and get your job, but we're going to keep building this thing. We're going to keep building it. We're going to keep building it. That's what I'm doing at this point in my life. I guess, I'm having such a great time doing what I'm doing. It almost bothers me that I didn't start a little bit earlier. But what I do know is that I took a skill set that I had. I knew I wanted to help these families initially, to just cut through all the opaqueness of trying to get an athletic scholarship. It's just confusing. I don't care what anybody says. You think you know what you're doing until you don't get that offer, and then you can't figure out what went wrong. Well, nothing went wrong. It's just that you went about it. You were depending on other people to do too much for you, but you didn't know what to do. So our software helps you with that. But just in life in general, the frustration of not knowing, and then you start, you're trying to vote for this person, or this person doesn't deserve it, and you're angry all the time about what other people get or what they don't get. You're always looking over in your neighbor's yard. Why do they get that? Why is that happening this way? Why did they come after me for this and they didn't get them? And you're pointing out other people, you're doing all that. That's not a way to live life. You cannot do it. It's just not worth it. This is why you have ulcers, and you're taking medicines and all that kind of stuff. Is because you're trying to live life through a set of other people's rules instead of doing as much as you can to control every aspect for yourself. And you want to convey that to your kids. Don't worry about that's going on right there. Let's get this done. But you always have a path. You always have a way out. I've always lived my life in a way out. You're never stuck. No matter what's going on, there's a way out of it. You just got to figure what it is. And if you can get ahead of it, if you can anticipate things going, you can see things coming. You think you can head them off by pointing them out. But sometimes that doesn't do any good either. They just run right over you. So have an out, have an exit, have a space where you're going, okay, this is happening over here, but I can control this over here. All right, maybe I made that too long, but that's what I want to talk about. Okay, so we're moving into the fall, right? School started back for a lot of you guys so far. We're doing some updates to the software, and then I've got some stuff that's coming in later this year that I want to talk about training in a different way. And then next week, what I'm going to talk about is if you're in a junior high, 7th, 8th grader, 9th grader, pretty much those 3 years, some of the things that I want you guys to start thinking about right now to get yourself ready to move forward when you get to high school. All right, guys, as always, best of luck to you guys in all you do. Keep believing in yourself and just have something set aside. The one thing I want to always close these videos out now with is that your best opportunity, your best chance of going as far as you want in the game that you're playing, I don't know what sport you're playing, is to be the best version of yourself in that sport. And that is something that I picked up this summer, going to so many different lectures, reading so many white papers, going to clinics, going to everything I can. That is the key. That is the key for you to go. If you want to do this thing, be the best version of you at that thing. And it's going to be different than what everybody else is doing. And you're going to understand what you're trying to accomplish more than just trying to get trained and do things the way everyone's done them before. All right, guys, as always, best of luck to you, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.